This is KGW News at noon.
COVID is forcing more local schools to shut down or go back to remote learning. Hi, everyone. I'm Brenda Braxton. Now, there's no class this noon in the Reynolds, North Clackamas, Gresham Barlow, and Centennial school districts. Also, the 5 Portland schools you see on your screen will be shifting to remote learning starting Tuesday. You can see the full list of changes on KGW.com. Educators say this is happening because so many students and staff have been exposed to COVID, and now they need to quarantine. But PPS claims something else is at play. As Catherine Cook explains, administrators think some teachers are calling out sick when they don't need to.
And it's been a rocky start to January because of my family having COVID.
5th grade teacher Maggie Burkett had to take all of last week off because she was sick. This week, her 2 kids are homesick with COVID. She and her husband have been taking turns caring for them. All the while, Burkett thinks of her students at Access Academy in Portland Public Schools. Even while caring for her kids at home, Burkett says she's been communicating with her students' families, co-workers, substitutes, and checking her district email. She checked it again on Wednesday.
When I received a letter that accused contracted teaching staff of breaking our contract by organizing in some way to not attend and not do our work. And it just blew me away.
The letter came from Sharon Reese, Chief of Human Resources with Portland Public Schools. In it, Reese noted the vast majority of teachers are showing up to school and taking approved leave when needed. But she also wrote, quote, "We are getting regular reports of educators being asked by colleagues to call in sick with the intention of causing the district to close schools. Not only does this undermine our core mission by depriving students of in-person learning, it also detracts from the ability of educators to take leave to deal with COVID or other legitimate reasons. It is unlawful for educators to participate in any sort of coordinated action to be absent for anything other than a legitimate reason under district policy."
Do you think there's any chance that some district educators could be calling in sick for purposes that aren't right or legal?
I don't. It's been a very difficult period of managing the surge in COVID. There have been a lot of absences because of that. And a lot of absences are not predictable right now.
On Thursday, the PPS Teachers Union wrote a scathing response to the district's accusations. It said in part, "This message from PPS is off base, demoralizing to all educators, and an insult to our profession. We are nearly 2 years into this pandemic, and in the face of the Omicron surge, PPS leaders still have no plan to provide sufficient testing or maintain the staffing levels needed to follow COVID-19 safety protocols."
It seemed that the intention of the letter was to either shame us or intimidate us.
As of Thursday, at least 8 Portland public schools had moved to temporary remote learning. It's a scenario Burkett recognizes is not only taxing for parents and students, but also teachers. She says the district gives them very little time to transition to remote learning. So while the accusations of misusing sick time to close schools are hurtful, most of all, Burkett says, they just don't make sense.
Going absent for even part of a day creates a larger workload than we already have.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Help is on the way for Oregon hospitals inundated with COVID patients. The state is sending in 3,000 reinforcements to battle the Omicron surge, which experts warn could put more people in the hospital than Delta did. Pat Doris has the update.
The state's watching the numbers like everybody else, and they know this surge is still coming. I think the latest hospitalization was something like 777 people with COVID, so it's definitely on the way up. It's not hit an all-time high, but it is headed that way, and that's one of the many reasons the state knew they needed to start bringing in some more help.
Among the increase, another 700 members of the Oregon National Guard who will join 500 already being deployed to hospitals across the state. They will help with non-medical tasks. Another 1,700 medical professionals will be brought in from various companies and places to help with exhausted hospital workers. Oregon Health Authority Director Patrick Allen said every person is needed.
I think we're doing absolutely everything we think we can to get as much staff as we possibly can. We're also learning more every day about what this surge might look like. It really matters a lot if there are relatively fewer people in ICUs and relatively more in medical surgical beds that are there for a shorter period of time, which is some of what the emerging data says.
Among those workers, people who will help at long-term care centers. So folks too sick to be at home but not sick enough for the hospital can be moved out of those beds to the long-term care facilities.
Oregonians can't leave the hospital if they have no options for the care they need after they are discharged. In turn, long-term care facilities may have beds available, but if they're experiencing a staff shortage, they can't fill them since they can't provide adequate level of care.
So the state is hoping to clear out those hospital beds for folks that don't really need to be in the hospital to make room for this surge that is still forecast to hit in about 2 weeks. In Northeast Portland, I'm Pat Doris reporting.
Washington is also taking new action to deal with Omicron. Governor Inslee is deploying the National Guard to several emergency rooms. They'll help with non-medical tasks. He's also calling on hospitals to suspend non-urgent procedures. Washington is seeing a dramatic increase in COVID hospitalizations and serious staffing shortages.
We currently have over 2,000 COVID hospitalizations across the state, and COVID patients today make up about 18% of all the people in our hospitals and 22% of our ICUs. And unfortunately, those numbers are going to continue to climb.
Governor Inslee is also calling on retired healthcare workers to come back and help hospitals during this staffing crisis. Well, we are on the verge of a long holiday weekend and a lot of people are ready to hit the slopes, but traffic on the way to Mount Hood has just been a nightmare. This was Highway 26 last Sunday. Drivers were really anxious to enjoy all the fresh powder up on the mountain, but they were going nowhere fast. To avoid a repeat this weekend and to limit some of the crowds, Mount Hood Meadows temporarily stopped selling passes, so don't head up there unless you already have one. As for Timberline, it is not limiting visitors there. Still, they do recommend you plan ahead and arrive early. Let's head back to the Weather Center and check in with Rod because the forecast is looking good this weekend.
Yeah, and Sunday, Brenda, might be a Bluebird Sunday, which if you go back to last Sunday, that would be back-to-back Sundays, right? It will be dry up there both days, at least some sunshine with some passing cloudiness around in the sky tomorrow. And as you look at the satellite picture behind me, all of a sudden we've been pretty quiet for a while, and all of the highways out east, over the Cascades, the Gorge, over the Coast Range are in good shape. What you're looking at here is a passing band of clouds that is thinning more than what it looked like it was going to be. Look at Cannon Beach, just getting on the back side of that cloud band. Some folks out walking. Temperature is nice too, 49 degrees at midday. Here's Willamette Valley Vineyards just south of Salem off the Turner exit, looking off to the west, and that's kind of partly sunny skies, right? Clouds over downtown Portland right now, but we've had some brightness as well. We're at 47. A dry afternoon, generally winds are light. It's still possible once you get to about 2 o'clock, we're going to see the cloudiness we have disperse and will become just mostly sunny. Get up to about 52, a nice evening for you. The 7-day forecast is pretty quiet all the way into Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Monday. We'll have those numbers for you coming up.
We like the sound of that. Thank you, Rod.